What is up, Profitable Stylist? Here we go this week. We have with us a guest speaker. You guys have seen him on the program before. Good morning, John. Thank you for joining us.
Gentlemen.
We got a heavy topic to go over today, so we figured we'd get everybody involved on this one. We're talking about the emotional journey that a client goes through, or any woman goes through for that matter, when it comes to hair loss and hair shedding.
Man or woman, huh? Did you say woman?
True. That's my bad. Men also do go through emotional journeys, as you can see on display here.
Yeah. We all are at a different level of hair loss. And most people would say I'm not, but I actually am. At 55 years old, I have lost quite a bit of hair, believe it or not. And I can remember being in my mid 20s, early 30s doing hair, because I do hair replacement, doing consultations for men and women who wanted hair, and they come in looking like me, and I would be a little aggravated, like, look at that hairline. I mean, it's like a 3-head, not even a 4-head, you know? And I would think, dude, lady, you've got a lot of hair. But the truth is, in my 20s, 30s, even 40s, I didn't lose any hair ever. And just late 40s, I guess, and maybe late 40s now into halfway through my 50s, I can see a little bit of scalp between the hairs. You couldn't before, you know? So yes, I know I still have more hair than most people. I'm not crying a river here saying, oh, I'm going so bald and thin, it's affecting me emotionally. But it does affect me emotionally a little bit. I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually
especially
hair.
I know for you, this has only been in this past 3 years that you've started shedding.
Right.
Up until 3 years ago, I can comfortably say your head was as thick as a Brillo pad.
It was thick. It was thick. Like you couldn't see skin between the hairs.
Right.
And I know I will probably end up an old man with even older man with still a lot of hair, hopefully, and I'll be fine. But I can't say, and I'm just saying I'm starting to be able to relate a little bit to the emotional part of it, is that I actually see many hairs in the tub or shower each day and think, how much more, how much faster should I start counting them? Am I really going to lose it all? I mean, you know, guys with a lot of hair don't even think about it. They're like, no big deal. That's how I was. I had no sympathy or empathy. Eddie, did you want to try those?
How do you say that word, Eddie?
Well, you just said.
Yeah, I just said it. So I had no sympathy or empathy. I just had the skill to help them with putting a hair system on. But I never did understand much about hair growth products, which we're going to talk today a little bit more about, right? Because you guys know a little bit more about it, what it does, why. And so the only thing I want to do to kind of lead into that is, over the last few years, talking to a few different people about this, I went from thinking differently about all this. And for the longest time, I didn't pay any attention to the scalp. And I think that's the big difference where hairdressers are up in their level of knowledge these days. We always talked about the hair. So if we could talk about the skin and then the hair, and that line right there, we only ever talked about and felt and evaluated what was good or bad about the hair and how to fix it. And so you guys are taking it a step further, and I think going beneath the surface, right down to the surface and below, to determine certain things, right?
To determine certain things. And that's been some of the struggle, and that's been the game for the past couple of decades now, is, you know, you start off as, like you're saying, you start off as a hairdresser and you're only worried about what is out here. As things have evolved, as technology has evolved, and as technology has made advancements, we are discovering that it's not about keeping what you have conditioned. It's about making sure your skin and your scalp and your body is good. So as your hair grows out of your skin and your scalp and your body, it'll be good. So you don't have to make it gooder, you know? So.
Right. That's good.
And
go ahead, John.
The whole thing with it is it's just like if you plant something, you need good soil to grow, right? Your scalp is your soil. You have to have a healthy scalp. It starts at the scalp and then moves out from there. I think that as far as the emotional end of things, as someone who I started in my mid 30s when it started going away, it was freaking traumatic. Okay.
Mhm.
As I saw my dad become more and more prevalent in the mirror, it's tough. It was tough. And I tried a bunch of the products that were available back then to no avail. I got a little ground cover from some stuff, but other than that, but no one, and even being a hairdresser, I didn't really think about it as how healthy is my scalp until later on down the line in my career. And by then it was too little too late. So I just overcompensate by growing a stupid beard. But
Let's talk about that too late thing. When is too late? What does that mean?
well, like you said, I was the reverse of you, Bernard. I was seeing more scalp than hair, where you said you used to see more hair than scalp.
Yeah.
And I mean, how truly once the follicle is dead, though, the follicle is dead. True, false, in between, Eddie?
Yeah, that's true, right?
Yeah. So, and I knew
But there's a period of time. There's a
Yeah.
period of time I've
But
learned.
it goes through cycles.
Yeah.
And the hair, from what I understand, I don't know all the, and this is kind of my specialty. I don't use big industry standard words, technical terms. So I like to describe it where an average person can understand, because it's how I understand the hair. Let's say it's just a particular size, a certain size, and it's coming out of that hole in your head, right? Well, as you get less healthy, whatever that looks like, that hole gets closed down, the hair gets smaller and smaller, and it starts to get finer and finer, skinnier, until it stops growing. But the hole's still there, mostly clogged up, and there is a period of time that you can bring that hair back. And I think that's probably what most of the health and products do, is clear that hole, bring the hair back. That's why it comes back kind of finer and thinner at first, because it starts to reverse the process. That's just me understanding it from just a real basics. And I think you guys might have some more scientific words to explain what's going on there and tell me if that's true.
It's a good point that you're bringing up, because there's a question says, does gut health affect hair loss? So yes, it does. Absolutely. It speeds up loss. It doesn't determine or dictate that you will lose hair, but it will most definitely hamper and mess up the cycle. So your hair goes through 3 phases. It goes through a growing phase, it goes through a resting phase, and it goes through a shedding phase. So you're always going through those 3 cycles. And this is over the course between all 3, give or take about a decade, about 10 years.
So you said those 3, and I think when you say resting, you mean not there, right?
No, not growing anymore.
So
not growing, but not falling out. It's just there.
Oh, it's okay. So what about, I thought there was what is the,
like the catagen, the anagen, and the telogen phases?
What's the stage when there's not, because hair grows, falls out, but in between growing, falling out and growing, isn't there some time sometimes it's different all the time on how long before that? Sometimes that same hole has a second hair growing out of it while there's another long one there.
That's
right?
that resting phase.
But sometimes that hair falls out and there's nothing there for a time, and then hair grows out. What is that called?
That's the true resting phase.
Is it? Okay.
And the thing to remember is everything that you take into your body, everything that's going on in your body affects your hair. It comes out in your hair. They used to be able to, they still can drug test with locks of hair. Hormonal imbalances. I mean, we all have hormones. Hormonal imbalances drastically affect your hair. And once again, if you're not the healthiest person in the world, and especially if you choose some, if you're a drug addict, if you're an alcoholic or anything like that, that'll really affect what goes on with your hair and that true follicle. But the hormones are really a big player. What we found, and with ZENAGEN, the product that we've been doing some stuff with, is a buildup of DHT, which is basically dried testosterone that builds up in the follicle, and will in effect choke the follicle out. And like we said, you have a short period of time before that follicle dies where you have to really cleanse that scalp, get that DHT out, and give that hair a chance to start growing again, and keep that, for lack of a better term, that field, you're fertile and growing. Did I miss anything there, Ed?
No, the other thing I'll add to that too, as far as health goes, since we're talking about gut health and just health in general, genetically speaking, that also makes a difference as well. We go through puberty every 7 to 10 years in our lives as well, but we don't really recognize that. We don't really think about that because the first one you go through, you're still a child. So in kids, we're like, oh, look, she's so cute. She's starting to get her little personality. That's what we refer to it as. But in actuality, that kid is going through a change. And then in the teenage year, your voice starts cracking or your body starts developing, and you're like, that's the one everybody recognizes, right? In your like 20s, early 30s, you're like, oh, things started clicking. I start figuring life out. I'm like, no, you didn't just get smarter overnight. Your body's going through a change, In your 40s, in your 50s, like late 40s, mid 40s, late 40s, early 50s, you start going through the change again. And, oh, that's the menopause, and then after that, it's just you're over the hill. It's all downhill from there.
Like
but but the thing what matters and the thing what we don't think about is in males, the development of testosterone is on hyperdrive when you're younger. And so you're more energetic, you're more muscular, you're more aggressive, you're more this, you're more that. So it's constantly pushing out anything, anything that's building up, it's just getting pushed out by the next thing that's coming through anyways, right? So there is not as much buildup occurring because it's cycling so fast and so hard. Mm-hmm. It's why a lot of thing in male, when you talk about low T and they get more lazy or they get more tired, they get more like their drive is down. Everything is down. Their energy is down. That's huge because in males in particular, that's not supposed to happen. That's not normal. Now in females, it's a different scenario. In females, they have more estrogen. So it's constantly suppressing the testosterone from building up.
Right.
And unfortunately, as you get older, your estrogen level drops. It's not like it completely goes away. You always have testosterone. It's just your estrogen level drops. So it's not suppressing the testosterone as much. And that's where you'll start to see women when they start getting older. They're like, oh my God, now I have a stash. Now I have an unibrow. Now I have chin hairs and stuff, and they start getting more facial waxing.
I had a couple ants with a beard like mine.
It's kind of true on both sides, though, right? So for men, testosterone drops. So this was kind of what we always said in the hair replacement field to understand when we're advertising, saying, hey, we can help you put more hair on your head. It started to give me an understanding because men would come in younger because the high testosterone levels would play into that DHT problem. Dihydrotestosterone, I believe. Right. I like what you said. It was the dried testosterone, which starts clogging that hole basically that the hair's growing out of.
Right.
And then for women, they tend to be on the older side when they're approaching menopause or estrogen starting to come down, because we both have testosterone and estrogen in our bodies, right? Men just have more testosterone. Women have more estrogen in the early days. And so that is kind of why women start to notice more hair loss a little later in life as their estrogen comes down and the testosterone is more prevalent, and men tend to lose a hair earlier. Is that correct?
Correct.
100% correct. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
For me, it was just through experience. And we should say a disclaimer here real quick. None of us are doctors. This is just our
This is 30 years of experience between each
experience. And what we've kind of noticed,
experience between all three of us.
How many?
Almost, if you really think about it, almost 100 years.
Yeah, right.
Plus, all three of us grew up in this industry. So I mean, the thing to remember, we're not doctors, but this is our experiences. I think that, to your point, Bernard, anything that really goes on with us is going to come out in our hair. I remember as a child, I had a classmate who got in a real bad car accident, hospitalized for a really long time. And when she came back to school, her hair was gray. I mean, her hair went gray. And that's all about the, her body healing and the hormonal imbalance in her hair. And I think that's really what we have to really focus on is there's more to it than just, to Eddie's point, genetics. I think there's also like the gut health thing, diet, the lifestyle that our clients lead, and what are they doing to help their hair. And fortunately, at this stage of the game, unlike when we all first got into the business, it was, just massage your scalp, it'll increase the blood flow, and that'll bring more nutrients to your follicle. True, very true, very true.
It's helpful, yeah.
And nothing beats a scalp treatment. I mean, that is like heaven on earth. Someone that really gets in there with the essential oils and stuff like that. But really detoxing the scalp is gonna help you across the board. True or false?
Well, you know what I think of as soon as you say that is you can clean a dirty counter or a dirty sink with just water, but how clean is it really? Right. So you've got to move into something more, something more. And there's obviously some mild soaps, and then there's much more aggressive products that you can go too aggressive, do too much. And I think that's kind of what we're talking about here. So I don't know much about ZENAGEN, but I noticed you guys sent me something before we got started that will you both be, or just one of you? Or tell me about this class that's going on October 7th. Is it right there in Illinois?
Yeah. Eddie?
Yeah. So
who's teaching what, and what's it about?
So it's on Monday, October 7th in Downers Grove, Illinois. We're calling it the Definitive Hair Loss Forum. And what that's going to be is it's going to be...
You did say forum, not farm, by the way. It sounded like you said forum. He's still learning the language, guys. Give him a little break. Go ahead.
Be empathetic for me, okay?
Oh, my God.
Or sympathetic for me. But October 7th, the purpose of that forum is to get everybody together to really go through this. We're going to have Chad White from ZENAGEN, who is their director of education, and he's going to be doing actual styling and cutting techniques and actual styles for different types of thin hair, fine hair, shedding hair, hair loss, just to show, these are this is the techniques that you can take back to the salon and help your clients with. Okay. We're going to have Jared, who is also a biochemist. He's going to speak a little bit about the chemistry and the science behind why hair loss occurs, how it relates to health, how it relates to genetics, and things that can be done to help curve, maintain, or get ahead of, or recover from people who are suffering from excessive shedding or hair loss. John and I are also going to be there. We're going to have a very interactive Q&A on dealing with how to deal with somebody who is being emotional. Because when a client is sitting, this is what we need to talk about a little bit as well. It's really important. Going through physically the shedding and the loss, yes, there are solutions. You can do things about them. But what doesn't exist is the cure for the emotional and mental turmoil that somebody is going through. That's where the human factor comes in. You can automate, you can medicate, you can physically do everything to fix it. But the emotional stress, that's the problem more than anything else. And it exacerbates the issue further, like you said, John, when somebody goes through a traumatic event, it will not manifest itself. Like sometimes it manifests itself immediately, but sometimes it won't physically manifest itself until 4 to 6 months later.
Right.
Because it takes the body that long to truly process that event. And if you think about it, stubbing your toe on a dresser, stepping on a Lego is considered a traumatic event. It puts a shock through your system that your body's not ready for. You go up to a car crash, or you go up to, some other insane thing that happens, or some extreme stress, it just magnified 10 times over, 100 times over.
Right.
I think you brought up a good point, and I think October 7th is an important place for hairdressers to be, because the event of COVID itself took a lot of hair. My mom had the most hair of anybody I ever knew, and she lost all her hair just after COVID. I can't say it was COVID related, but most likely was. But we do see a lot more hair loss from a lot of things. The lack of nutrients in our diets these days, COVID, and all the crazy diets people are doing. Years ago, my mom tried a liquid diet, and she started to notice a little bit of hair loss, so she quit. But a lot of her friends were doing that liquid diet, a lot of protein drinks, and they lost hair. Some people lose hair from stress. So hair loss comes from so many things. And I think that what you're talking about, being sympathetic and empathetic, or sympathetic and empathetic, I'm not sure if those are the same, but to be those things, you have to have knowledge. You have to understand. And so I think a lot of hairdressers hear the client say, I'm losing a lot of hair, and they just want to talk about it, first of all. And then the hairdresser is like, I don't know what to say. And you don't have to know what to do necessarily, but if you understand the whole situation, and you're smart enough to ask a few questions and start saying, well, let's talk about it a little bit. Let's figure out what's going on. Now let's call Eddie. And maybe he can help us.
And this is the segment that we're talking about as well, too, because John and I, especially John, does a lot of research on psychology. And not that we are psychologists ourselves by any means, but understanding the human condition and being able to speak to somebody properly. Like John, for example, go through some of our conversations. I'll call you up and say, what does social protocol dictate in this scenario? That is a phone call that I start with John often.
He does. Eddie sometimes struggles. We don't want to bring up the phone call yesterday where Eddie was about to choose violence, and we talked him down from the ledge.
Look, we're all human. We all go through our emotional roller coasters, right?
We are. And because of what we do, and especially because the cool part is the three of us are all, well, you're not behind the chair that much at all anymore, are you, Bernard?
No.
Okay. But
he is in the salon, although he's still in the salon.
Yeah. But dealing with that one-on-one with that client and really, really being able to connect with them and make a difference for them, I think is priceless. Number one. Number two, if we can actually, as true hairdressers, actually make a difference for them, and where they actually get some form of relief, or even just the mental relief of being able to talk it out with us, that, once again, another priceless thing. That's the coolest part about what we do as hairdressers. But to be informed and at least know what you can do for a client or what you can't do for a client. And yes, we're not doctors. We don't play one on TV. But we can, if it's something that we can help them with, heck yeah. If not, then direct them to their medical professional. True, false? Yes. If I have to throw the shameless plug in here, if you are interested in this event that we have going on, you can go to htbbeauty.com. Click on the classes, and it'll be right there, and you can register for it. Or you can call the office. Our office number is 847-741-5000. And we'll be able to get you tickets over the phone. It's going to be an amazing event, but had to do the shameless plug. But really, it's huge. It's huge what we could do with products like that are out there, like ZENAGEN, products that are actually all about the scalp. And then also if, like we were talking about, that point of no return, if they're at that point of no return, then there's things like you do, Bernard, where there's true hair replacement. How cool is that we have all these things that are at our disposal to really help and change people's lives? True?
Yeah. And sometimes just hair extensions. We had a lady come in the other day who said, look how thin my hair is. I think I need one of those beaded toppers that you do. And she is just a little older than I am, but she was originally, when I was a kid, the largest dancing school instructor and owner in our town. So everybody knew who she was, her name and everything. So when she walked in, she recognized me right away. And I didn't catch it from the first name at first because she's known from the first name and the last name. And so she comes in and I said, you don't need hair replacement. You don't need something on top of your head. That little more open part area. And this is where John comes in as far as, right? Messing with him because he's texting while we're talking. So I called him out. So
He fell asleep.
This is where
he's pop. He dozes off randomly, you know.
This is where the words matter. And I want to tell that story, but the other day I asked my son Brennan, I had to help him with an extension client also. And I said, what did you think? He goes, Dad, I don't think anybody else could have sold that or made her feel comfortable. The words you used. I said, well, that does come with years of experience. I used a lot of wrong words in the early days. And I'm like, whoa, don't say that ever again. That really makes somebody mad. But go ahead, John. You can read that text. So,
I have a client blowing me up right now.
I understand. No, it's good. That's you being sympathetic to the client.
You have to be sympathetic to the client.
So listen, something I realized years ago is that the clients don't always use the words that correctly describe what they're emotionally going through. And that's a whole challenge right there. One is this lady that came in, look at my part. It's so thin. I need something on top of my head to fix the problem. And I said, I see that and maybe, but let me propose a different plan first, because you see the part is big and wide, but that is probably an indication that you're thin all over. You're just not parting your hair here or here or here. You're parting it here, so you're seeing the problem right there. But the fact is, your hair is down to here, and it's all thin right here. And it's not just because of your part. It's because you're thin all over. So what I propose or recommend first is trying extensions. Let's, first of all, is check with your doctor, make sure you're healthy, make sure your diet's right, make sure you're getting all the nutrients you need, the correct things in your body, that you're healthy and that you're not, we go over that also. How long have you been thinning? Is it just a brand new problem? Did something dive into a wrong area with diet or health or something like that? Get your blood panel and all the vitamins and everything checked out by a doctor first. That I can't help you with. But then if you find out you're healthy and you're just thinning because you're getting a little older, because we're gonna thin as we get older, then hair extensions on the sides, adding fullness to all the hair, will fix somewhere between 80 and 90% of the problem. So yes, you'll still have a wider part than you did when you were younger, but your hair will look so good that might not matter as much to you anymore. And I tell you what, she blew my phone up over the next few days with texts. Oh my God, thank you so much. It's so light and comfortable, and you're right. I feel, and it's a lot easier to wear and maintain and shampoo and dry and style your hair and go swimming with extensions than when you put hair on top of your head. I do them both. I just know that they're kind of done in stages, which ones. And I've never been really good or knowledgeable about the product. So I'm so glad to have you guys on here, because that's something I've never really understood. It's such, you got to be a little more patient in that area. And I don't have a lot of patience. I'm like, we can fix your hair right now. But growing hair back or maybe never losing it, it's a harder sell, because some people, they don't want to wait either. But Eddie, I heard you say something I'd like you to go into a little bit more. You said something about what the guy on stage is going to help do with styling hair. That tells me that I'd like you to talk a little bit more about the product lineup. That tells me it's probably more than just hair growth products, but that deal with the scalp. It sounds like ZENAGEN has a line that also shampoo, conditioner, styling products that does actually work on the hair and not just the scalp, or is it both?
Because it's all science, and this will also help answer the question that just came in chat. Do minerals affect hair color? Like lack of minerals would make hair, more gray. So this will all come into the same answer. Everything is cumulative over time.
Right.
Cumulative over time. So If you are doing a lot of something, that builds up, and that can either have a positive or adverse or negative effect. If you stop doing things over time, that will either have a positive or a negative effect over time. Earlier, you mentioned about going on a liquid diet. Your body now all of a sudden is in shock of not getting a balanced diet. You're just on a liquid diet. You're losing some things, you're gaining other things. You go off in balance, and that throws things off too. The body is a beautiful ecosystem, and it is constantly evolving to keep up with the changes that it is constantly going through. So what we take in, what we put out, exercising, moving, minerals, the water sources, the environment, the pollution, the region of the world that you're in, everything matters. Okay. And this is where the science becomes really, really important. What are your choices? You could do ingestibles, you could take medicines, you could take steroids, you could take supplements. You could do that. That is an option. And each one of them have their cause and effects, pros and cons. A lot of people are nervous about taking ingestibles. So then what are your other options? You can get
Does ZENAGEN have any ingestibles, any vitamins?
ZENAGEN has no ingestibles.
All
it is
topical?
All topical. It is a purely topical option, because that's the second form is your topical options. And then your third form, real quick, is just getting treatments. You could get as simple as a scalp treatment, like John was referring to earlier. You could go all the way up to going to a specialty dermatologist or even a trichologist, and you could get PHP treatments or PRP treatments, where they take your blood and clean it and bring it back. So you could go all the way extreme. You could go there. There's a whole range of treatments that you could do. And a lot of people get nervous about that, or a lot of people don't.
Will they talk about that on October 7th also?
We're going to go through all of that on October 7th, through that whole range. Topical treatments is the most common, the most popular, and the most acceptable thing. It's like the first thing everybody tries to do before they move on to something else. And with topicals, it gets really confusing. If you're taking the chemical approach or you're taking the homeopathic approach, those are your two options. What does that mean? In a chemical approach, you have some kind of chemical built products. Now, some people get nervous about that. Some people have allergies to that. Some people just have sensitivity in general because their scalp, because their hair is thinning. Their scalp is not as, the epidermis layer, the outer layer of their skin is not as strong anymore either, because it's not protected physically by the hair anymore. You just start getting sensitivities all the way around. ZENAGEN has scalp treatment products that will help rejuvenate the follicle and the skin. Okay. It'll help balance out and cleanse the DHT buildup. It'll help promote a healthier environment. So this way, when the blood flow is getting to the follicle and it's dropping off the nutrition, then that pore, the hole that you were mentioning earlier, Bernard, it is as open as possible to allow the thickest hair shaft to grow out, not be choked out and therefore be thinner, and that's really what it comes down to. They have also styling products for the existing hair that is thin and weak to help make that stronger. So it's not just, yes, the scalp is very important, but then in the meantime, what are you doing with the hair that's already there? You got to strengthen that hair as well so it doesn't snap and break. And so this way, those split ends, if you don't take care of those, you got to get those cut off. But in the meantime, you got to have that hair shaft strong so it doesn't split worse than it normally would, all of that matters. Then you've got the products that will potentially help to promote new hair growth. You've got products that'll help increase the rate of growth. And then you've got products that will help counteract the excessive mineral buildups or the excessive foreign elements that are choking out the hair from getting its nutrition. And it'll help reproduce pigment as well, because now John can talk about this too. When it comes to hair color, your hair has two jobs. It's got to grow and it's got to produce pigment. The first thing that goes is the loss of producing pigment. That's why you start graying.
Right.
After that, once the follicle truly dies, that's where you start losing, you know? So with coloring hair, you know, a lot of people are like, I'm just going to go natural. I'm just going to let it go. I'm adamantly against that. John is a little more lenient than I am. But I truly believe that you have to color hair. It helps protect the hair.
Yeah, but coloring the hair, I think, yeah, I talk about choosing violence. Coloring hair though, Eddie, and I think this is maybe for another episode but with coloring the hair, yes, protecting the hair, but also with some of the products, and we're just talking about ZENAGEN right now. Some of the ZENAGEN products protect the hair. The Reparical spray, most of their styling products are lightweight, where it won't weigh down that finer hair. It'll hold the style. Back in the day, how many of your finer haired clients if you put any kind of curl in their hair, usually halfway out the door, those curls fall, right? And a lot of these, because you couldn't put anything heavy on it, because then it does this, right? So with that being said, with these lightweight products, it's actually giving these clients also a styling options where they can actually have a style, and it's not just pull it down or let it hang. They're once again, the color thing, that's for another day. To answer that question though, yeah, minerals will affect some loss of melanin production. Absolutely. If you're lacking minerals in your body, it will aid that, and your follicles stop producing melanin. Because like Eddie said, our body's an ecosystem. It's a machine. And, if you don't have the right oil in your car, does your car run an optimum, optimum performance? No. You don't have the right gas in it. Same thing. And so, yes. So to answer that question that whoever put that up. Yeah. With that being said, I think that we're on the precipice of with all of these products coming out and us really understanding what people are doing to their hair and what we're putting in our bodies. I think we're actually moving towards being healthier, and I for one have prescribed a couple of these products for clients, and most of them love it. They love it. I'm all for it. We're not watching hair go down the drain.
Do you guys want to talk a little bit about how the product is? Like, I'm a little more curious as a non-user of a hair growth product. How often? Where does it go? How do you do it? Is it something you squirt on, massage in? Is it part of a shampoo? Is it is it dry? Is it wet? Is it creamy, liquidy? I'm curious, like the visuals. I can't understand it. How often it goes on? When do you expect to see something? Can you talk a little bit about that? I think
the reason why I like this in particular is because it's very streamlined in comparison to other systems. And this is because of hair extensions. I'm going to answer this in a weird kind of way. This all came about because of hair extensions. If the hair is weak, not that hair extensions weigh a lot. We talk about this all the time on Two Guys Chat. But, not that hair extensions weigh a lot, but you got to have the hair's got to be able to support the weight of the hair extensions.
Right.
And that's what led us down this journey. There was a lot of clients, I take biotin, I take collagen, I take these gummies, I take these supplements, I take this, I take that. And it's like, yeah, but it's not fully going to the head and to the hair. It's not affecting the area that you need it the most. So ZENAGEN in particular is nutraceutical based. When you have topical based products that are not steroid based, then they're on frequency of use, meaning you got to do them on a 48-hour cycle. You use it every other day. You leave it on for 5 minutes. If you leave it on longer, that's fine too. But after about 5 5 to 7 minutes, your scalp's just not going to absorb anything anymore. Like if you ever look at the instructions on a shampoo, no, excuse me, on a conditioner, standard conditioner, it only says leave it on for 3 to 5 minutes. Your hair and your scalp can only absorb so much. The rest of it feels good standing there. It's a placebo. You feel like you're doing something extra sitting there, but you're really not, you know? So
you're saying the main product that helps the hair grow back from ZENAGEN is put on the scalp every other day?
Yeah.
Every other day in the shower. You just must, like when you're shampooing your hair, you just shampoo it into your scalp.
So it's like a shampoo.
It is.
Yeah.
A shampoo.
Okay.
It is a shampoo. You massage it into your scalp. You let it sit for 5 minutes. You're cleansing your scalp anyways. And I tell the guys, hang out, listen to a song, I don't know. I put my mirror, I got a little shower mirror. Now I just shave my face in the shower because it takes me
waiting.
Yeah, because I'm bored out of my mind. But you know what? I want to keep whatever. No, I'm being realistic.
Yeah.
Women, can spend 5-10 minutes in the shower easily. By the time they do their whole regiment with their face and their legs and their this and their that, it's easier. A lot of guys use a freaking bar of soap to do their face, their head, and the rest of their body, and it's the same bar of soap. So
you've been watching me.
So yeah, it all adds up.
No.
It all adds up. There is one to help regrow. There is one, some people just don't have shedding issue. Their hair doesn't grow very fast, or it doesn't grow past a certain length.
Right.
There is one for that. There's one about the gray question earlier from the comment. There's even a treatment that helps target issues with resistant gray or gray coverage in general. It'll help rebuild some of that melanin to help the gray coverage better or easier, especially if somebody's salt and pepper. So there's 3 different targets and there's 3 different kinds. These are all the things. This is why we decided to do this forum. There are so many questions. There's so many misconceptions. Ingredients matter. Cold press technology matters. The way the ingredients are harvested. There's so many different ways of doing it. There's just so much to unpack. So October 7th is going to be a full day, 7 hours.
Oh,
and if you're in the state of Illinois, it's 9 to 5. It's 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay.
It's a full day on that Monday. If you're an Illinois stylist, we can give you 7 CE hours that you can use towards license renewals, because that's coming up next year.
Yep. We're in a
So
renewal.
if you haven't thought about that, there goes half your hours right there. You can fulfill that requirement as well. We are also going to feed you lunch because it's a full day. All right. The room that we got is what medical doctors use. So they have like the chairs and the tables. It's like a semicircle, like a theater
In the round.
conference room.
Yeah.
So we're going to be, if you're spending all day in that room, it better be comfortable and it better be conducive of a interactive experience. And that's really what it's about more than anything else.
Right.
So go to hcbbeauty.com, register if you're a licensed cosmetologist. This is not open to the public.
Correct.
Okay. This is for licensed cosmetologists. $175. You're going to get some other bonuses and spiffs that we will talk about when it's appropriate at the event itself. If you have any questions, like you said, John, earlier, call our office, 847-741-5000. Go to hcbbeauty.com. Go to the description of this video today. All the information is in there as well for the details. So, and that's what we got for you. So I know we just lost Bernard's connection, but I was pretty much going to wrap up anything anyways. So you got a final closing thought?
I just, I encourage everyone to at least try to find out the information about not only ZENAGEN, but also about helping your clients get through this when they have thinning issues, because it's really important. And the work that we do is important, and we make a big difference to them. So that's all I said. That's my thing on it. Thanks to Bernard and RJ for letting me hijack the thing for today. Our
Oh, did
you
you
guys
guys chat
chat?
today? No, but like because you hit me with the best question.
I greatly appreciate both those guys. And
Oh, yeah, no, I was gonna say this whole thing was a great idea from you today because you when you hit me with that question, what do you do when your client's freaking out about hair loss?
right,
That was a huge thing. So
right.
thank you for the comments. Thank you for the questions. If you
Yep.
guys have any more, contact us, let us know. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week.